My brother had the police drag my 10-year-old son out of my parents' house in handcuffs, over a lie. My parents stood on the porch and watched like they were spectators. And when I found out what really happened, what they all hid from me, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't throw a punch. I didn't beg for anyone to hear me out. I did something worse. I made sure every single adult who signed off on that humiliation, family included, lost what they valued most, their reputations, their careers, and their sense of control. My name is Adrian Cole. I'm 41. I'm an ER physician in Southern California. Married to Lauren, 2 kids, Noah, 10, and Mia, 7. We're not flashy. We live in a normal suburb, decent schools, soccer on the weekends, homework at the kitchen table. And for most of my life, I tried to keep family peace the way people do when they're raised around a golden child. Because my brother Grant has always been that guy. Grant is 45. Big deal, attorney. The kind who drops names and says things like, "I'll call the captain," like it's a party trick. He's married to Tessa, and they have a son, Logan, 15, quiet kid, always polite, always looking like he'd rather disappear than listen to Grant talk about himself. At every family dinner, Grant performed. He'd show up in tailored clothes, set his keys on the counter like a trophy, and somehow the conversation always landed on how busy he was, how important he was, how everyone needed him. My parents drank it up. My mom would tell anyone who'd listen, "Grant is brilliant." My dad would smile and say, "He's got that drive." And I'd sit there, tired from a 14-hour shift, knowing I literally kept people alive, yet somehow I was still the steady one, the quiet one, the one who didn't need to be celebrated. I didn't fight for attention. I didn't need it. But my kids? My kids didn't deserve to be collateral damage in my brother's ego. And I didn't realize how far Grant would go, until the day he decided to use the police as a weapon. It happened on a Saturday in early summer. My mom invited everyone over for lunch, classic family thing. Backyard, burgers, fruit salad, my dad acting like he invented grilling. Lauren and I came with Noah and Mia around 10 a.m. Noah ran to the yard immediately. Soccer ball, barefoot on the grass, happiest kid on earth. Mia stayed inside drawing, quiet like that, always observing, always reading the room. Grant and Tessa were already there. Grant barely looked up from his phone when we walked in. Tessa hugged Lauren and smiled politely, like she was trained to be pleasant in public no matter how tense things were at home. Logan nodded at my kids and went back to scrolling. For the first hour, everything felt normal. Then my phone buzzed, hospital emergency. A multi-car crash on the freeway. One victim with internal bleeding, unstable, needs immediate intervention. That's the thing about ER medicine, your schedule doesn't matter when someone's dying. Lauren grabbed her keys. "I'll drive," she said. "Go change in the car." I checked on the kids. Noah was still outside playing, and Mia was inside at the coffee table with her coloring book. I asked my mom, "Can you keep an eye on them? We'll be back as soon as I'm done." "Of course," she said, like it was automatic. Like she understood what family was supposed to mean. I believed her. Lauren and I made it to the hospital fast. The case was bad. Real bad. We worked for hours. Controlled bleeding, stabilized, got the patient to surgery. When things finally calmed down, my hands were shaking, not from fear, but from adrenaline draining out. I texted my mom, on our way back. "Thanks for watching the kids." No reply. We pulled up to my parents' house around 2 p.m. And the second I stepped inside, my body knew before my brain did. The house was too quiet. No Noah's laugh. No running feet. No cartoon noise. Just silence, and a tension so thick it felt like walking into smoke. Mia was on the couch, curled into Lauren's side like she was trying to fuse into her. My mom sat in a chair staring at the floor. My dad stood by the window, arms crossed, jaw tight. Grant was in the kitchen leaning against the counter, calm. Too calm. I looked around. "Where's Noah?" Mia lifted her head, eyes swollen, and whispered, "Daddy, the police took him." I swear the world tilted. I didn't understand the sentence. Like the words couldn't logically exist in the same universe as my son. I turned on my parents. What do you mean the police took him? My mom opened her mouth, then closed it again. My dad finally said, Grant called them. I turned toward my brother slowly, like I was afraid if I moved too fast my body would do something irreversible. Why? Grant didn't flinch. He actually looked offended that I asked. Because your son stole my watch, he said. I blinked. What? My Rolex, he said. 15 grand. It's gone. And your son was the only one near my office. I stared at him, trying to find the punchline. Noah is 10. A sweet kid who cries when he thinks he hurt someone's feelings. A kid who still asks permission before grabbing snacks. And my brother was standing there, fully serious, saying my son stole a $15,000 watch. I looked at my parents again, waiting for them to do what grandparents are supposed to do. Defend the child. Ask questions. Slow things down. But my mom whispered, Grant was so sure. My dad said, we asked Noah. He said he didn't take it. And you still let the police take him? My mom's eyes darted to mine. You were in surgery. Lauren's voice went sharp. So you handcuffed a child instead? Grant shrugged like this was a lesson in responsibility. Kids lie, he said. Especially when they're cornered. Better he learns now. That's when Lauren grabbed Mia, and I pulled out my phone. I called the police station. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I said, calmly, my 10-year-old son was taken from his grandparents' home. I'm his father. I'm coming to the station right now. Put him with an officer and do not question him without me present. The officer hesitated. Then said, Sir, he's already in an interview room. I felt something cold move through me. We'll be there in 10. The drive was a blur. Mia kept crying quietly in the back seat. Lauren held her hand so tight her knuckles were white. When we got to the station, they made us wait like we were criminals, like we were inconveniences. Then an officer led me down a hallway. And there he was. My son. Sitting at a metal table in a gray room with a two-way mirror. His wrists were red. His eyes were bloodshot. His shoulders were hunched like he was trying to shrink small enough to disappear. When he saw me, his face broke. He ran into my arms so hard it knocked the air out of me. Dad, I didn't do it, he kept saying. I didn't take anything. I swear. I swear. I held him and tried to keep my voice steady. I know, buddy. I know. You're safe now. An officer came in, name tag said Henson, and he spoke like he was reading from a script. Your brother filed a theft complaint. Your parents confirmed your son was near the area where the watch was stored. I stared at him. Did anyone actually see Noah take anything? He hesitated. No, he admitted. Did anyone check the house? The office? The car? Did anyone confirm the watch was even missing before handcuffing my child? He shifted again, uncomfortable. Your brother is a well-known attorney. He insisted it was theft. I looked him dead in the eye. So you took the word of a connected adult over a child, with zero evidence. The officer's jaw tightened. Then he said something that changed everything. Your brother requested the handcuffs. He said he wanted the boy to understand consequences. Lauren made a sound behind me, like a gasp swallowed into anger. Noah clung tighter. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't threaten anyone. I said, I want the report. I want the body cam footage. I want every minute of that interview. And I want the name of whoever approved a minor being questioned without parental notification. The officer stared at me like he finally realized I wasn't going to calm down and go home. Sir, you should understand your brother has relationships here. I nodded once. Then everybody involved should have thought about that before they handcuffed my 10-year-old. They released Noah after another hour. No charges. No evidence. Just trauma. When we got home, Noah didn't touch his dinner. He sat there staring at the wall like he didn't know how to exist safely anymore. Later that night, after both kids finally fell asleep in our bed because neither of them wanted to be alone, Lauren sat beside me and said, "We're not letting this go." And I said, "No. We're not. Because here's what Grant didn't understand, I've spent my entire adult life in systems that document everything. Hospitals. Courts. Licensing boards. Paper trails are how power is held accountable. And my brother had just handed me the biggest paper trail of his life. The next morning, I called an attorney, not a friend, not a favor, not someone who'd fold under Grant's reputation. A woman named Erica Vaughn, civil rights and family law. She listened quietly, asked a few sharp questions, then said, "This isn't just a family issue. This is abuse of process. And your brother used his influence to weaponize law enforcement against a child." Then she paused. "And we're going to make it public, legally." That week, we got the footage. And when I heard my son's voice in that interview room, small, shaking, repeating, "I didn't take it," while adults pressured him, I had to stop the recording halfway through. Not because I couldn't handle gore. I've seen gore. I couldn't handle injustice wearing a badge and family using it like a knife. Erica dug deeper. And that's when the truth surfaced. Grant's Rolex. It wasn't stolen. It wasn't even at the house. Because Grant had already filed an insurance claim on it months earlier, claimed it was lost during travel. He got paid out. And what he did that Saturday wasn't a mistake. It was a cover story. A distraction. A power move. And my son was his scapegoat. When Erica showed me the claim documents, I stared at the screen for a long time. Lauren's voice was quiet. "He tried to ruin our child, to protect himself." I nodded. And in that moment, I stopped feeling angry. I started feeling precise. Because when someone harms your child for convenience, you don't talk it out. You don't do a family meeting. You don't accept tears and excuses. You build the file. You follow the process. And you make sure consequences land where they belong. By the time Grant realized what was happening, it was too late. Because Erica didn't just file one complaint. She filed 3. One with internal affairs. One with the district attorney's office, attached to the insurance fraud evidence. And one with the state bar. And when those wheels started turning, all of Grant's connections suddenly got real quiet. Because there's one thing people love more than loyalty. It's self-preservation. And nobody wants to go down for a man who handcuffed his nephew to cover his own fraud. Grant called me that night. I let it go to voicemail. Then he texted, "You're taking this too far." I stared at my phone and finally replied with one sentence, "You took my son too far." And that's when the real fallout began. By Monday morning, Grant was calling like nothing happened. Not apologizing. Not asking how Noah was. Just calling to handle it. Like my son being handcuffed was a scheduling conflict. I didn't answer. Lauren didn't answer. We blocked him on everything except email, because Erica told us to. "Let him write," she said. "People confess when they think they're negotiating." Noah stayed home from school for 2 days. He said he felt weird around adults. He asked if police could take him again if someone lied. And that question tore something open in me I didn't know could tear. Because I couldn't fix it with a bandage. I couldn't fix it with a bedtime story. I couldn't fix it by saying, "You're safe." I could only fix it by making sure it never happened again. And in our family, never again meant breaking the system Grant hid behind. Erica moved fast. She filed the formal request for records, body cam footage, dispatch logs, the incident report, and the interview recording. She also sent a preservation notice to the department, basically warning them, "Don't delete anything, don't lose anything." Then she filed the first complaint, unlawful detention of a minor and improper interrogation procedures. And she didn't put it in emotional language. She wrote it like a surgeon. Dates. Times. Names. Policies. A timeline so clean it was impossible to ignore. Then she filed the second complaint with the state bar, because Grant's behavior wasn't just immoral. It was a misuse of influence. A lawyer leveraging reputation to weaponize law enforcement against a child. Even before the fraud piece, it looked bad. But the fraud piece? That was the match. Because when Erica subpoenaed the insurance claim history, we found something that made my stomach turn. Grant's Rolex wasn't stolen. Grant had filed a claim months earlier saying it was lost during travel. He was paid out. But he still wore a Rolex to family gatherings. Which meant one of two things was true: 1, he committed insurance fraud, or 2, he filed a claim on a watch he still had. Either way, it was criminal. And if he was willing to lie to an insurance company? Lying about Noah was nothing. That's when Erica called me and said, "I need you to be ready." Ready for what? For your family to pick sides. I laughed, sharp and humorless. They already did. She went quiet for a beat. "No," she said. "Not like this. When consequences start looking real, people get desperate." She was right. Because the moment Grant realized we weren't backing down, he didn't come to me. He went to our parents. And suddenly my phone started lighting up with their names. First my mom. Then my dad. Then my mom again. I let it ring. Over and over. Until finally, my dad left a voicemail. His voice sounded tired in that way men sound when they don't know how to control a situation anymore. "Adrian, your mother is beside herself. Grant made a mistake. This doesn't have to ruin the family." I stared at my phone and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger. Not shock. Just clarity. Because my dad didn't say, "I'm sorry." He didn't say, "We failed Noah." He said, "This doesn't have to ruin the family." Like our family's image mattered more than my child's safety. Lauren came into the room and saw my face. She didn't ask what happened. She just said, "Don't let them reframe it." That night, we sat at the kitchen table while Noah slept in our room again. Lauren had her laptop open, researching child trauma responses. I had Erica's number pulled up. And my phone buzzed. A text from my mom: "Please come over tomorrow. We need to talk. Grant is your brother." I typed back one sentence: "Noah is your grandson." And then I turned my phone off. The next day, Noah went back to school. But he wouldn't let go of Lauren's hand at drop-off. He stood there, 10 years old, trying to act brave, but his eyes kept flicking toward the street like he expected a police car to appear. When he finally walked inside, Lauren sat in the car and cried. I didn't cry. I couldn't. My body had moved past grief and into action. That afternoon, Erica called again. "We got more," she said. "What kind of more?" She exhaled. "You're not going to like it." The police report wasn't written like a normal missing item complaint. It was written like a case already solved. It said Noah was uncooperative. It claimed he was observed near the storage area. It used language that implied guilt without evidence. And it included something that made my blood run cold. The report listed your parents as guardians present and stated they approved interviewing the child. I sat down slowly. "What?" "Your parents," Erica said carefully, "signed the consent line." I didn't speak. I couldn't. Because my parents didn't just stand there. They didn't just freeze. They didn't just not intervene. They actively approved the interrogation. They gave the police permission. They gave Grant legitimacy. They gave away my son's protection, for Grant's comfort. Lauren heard the silence and came over, eyes wide. "What?" I put the phone on speaker. Erica repeated it. Lauren's hand went to her mouth. Then she said something in a voice I'd never heard from her before: "They signed him away." Erica's tone stayed calm. "We can use it," she said. "It shows intent. It shows collaboration. It shows this wasn't a misunderstanding." I felt my jaw tightening so hard it hurt. "Is there more?" I asked. "Yes," Erica said. "We also found the officer who approved the handcuffs. It wasn't random." She gave me the name. Sergeant Mallory. And then she added, "Mallory has a history of off-book favors. There are prior complaints, but they never stuck." Of course. Because people like Grant don't just wake up one day and pull strings. They practice. They build relationships. They test how far their influence goes. And for years, my family had treated Grant like a king. So why wouldn't the police treat him like one too? That evening, my mom showed up at our house. No warning. Just pulled into the driveway like she still had the right. She walked up carrying a bag, cookies, I think, like sugar could patch trauma. I didn't open the door. I stood behind it and said, "Go home." "Adrian," she pleaded through the wood. "Please. Let me talk to the kids." Lauren stepped beside me. "You mean the kids you watched while your favorite son handcuffed one of them?" My mom's voice cracked. "That's not fair." I laughed once, low. "Not fair?" I repeated. "You signed consent for them to interrogate Noah. You literally approved it." Silence. Then her voice got small. "We didn't know what else to do." Grant said, Lauren snapped, "and you followed." Like always. My mom started crying for real then. "I was trying to keep it from getting worse," she said. I leaned closer to the door. "You made it worse. You chose him over a child." My dad's voice came from behind her, farther back. "Son," I cut him off. "Don't call me son. Not right now." Then I said the sentence that ended whatever hope they had: "If you come back here again, I will call the police. And unlike you, I don't use them for revenge. I use them for protection." They left. And I stood there shaking, not from fear, but from the realization that my family wasn't just dysfunctional. They were dangerous. The next morning, Grant finally emailed me. Not a normal email. A lawyer email. Full of concerns and misunderstandings and private resolution. He offered to drop the matter if we agreed to stop making complaints. He said he'd forgive us for overreacting. And then he made the mistake that sealed his fate. He wrote, "If you continue down this path, you may force certain people to respond in ways you won't like." Erica read it and smiled, cold. "That's intimidation," she said. "In writing." I exhaled. "Good," I said. "Because I'm done being polite." That week, Erica filed the third action. Not a lawsuit yet. Something better. She filed a request for a child psychological evaluation, documentation of trauma, anxiety response, fear of police, sleep disruption. Noah told the therapist he felt like he was bad even when he told the truth. He said he didn't understand why Grandma and Grandpa didn't stop it. He said the handcuffs hurt and he thought he was going to go to jail forever. The therapist's report was devastating. And legally, it was gold. Because now it wasn't just my word. It was medical documentation. A professional assessment. A paper trail. Then Erica called me Friday afternoon. "Adrian," she said, "the DA's office wants to talk." I stood up so fast my chair scraped. "About the insurance claim?" "Yes," she said. "They're opening an investigation. Your brother is on their radar now." I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel relief. I felt a deep, steady certainty. Because when someone harms your child, you don't need revenge. You need accountability. And accountability had finally entered the room. That night, I got a text from Logan, Grant's son. I stared at it for a full minute before opening it. It said, "Uncle Adrian. I'm sorry. I didn't know what to do. I think Dad hid the watch in his safe." My heart stopped. Lauren looked up. "What?" I showed her the phone. And she whispered, "Oh my God." Logan sent another message, "Grandpa told me not to say anything because it would ruin the family. But Noah didn't do it." I saw Dad put it away. I sat down hard. My hands went numb. So it wasn't just a lie. It was a coordinated lie. And my parents didn't just enable it. They tried to silence the one kid who could tell the truth. I forwarded the screenshots to Erica immediately. No commentary. Just evidence. She responded within minutes, "This changes everything. Don't reply to Logan yet. I'll advise next steps." And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. Grant didn't just destroy Noah's trust. He was teaching Logan how to be him. How to lie. How to manipulate. How to protect reputation over truth. And if we didn't stop it now, it wouldn't end with Noah. It would spread. Because toxicity doesn't just hurt one kid. It becomes the family culture. That weekend, the DA's office scheduled an interview. Internal Affairs opened a formal file. And the department, suddenly nervous, quietly placed Sergeant Mallory on administrative leave, pending review. Grant called again. Over and over. Then my dad. Then my mom. Then Grant. Then a number I didn't recognize. I let them all ring. Because I was done talking. Now I was building the case. And the next time we saw Grant, it wouldn't be at a family table. It would be under fluorescent lights, where truth matters more than charm. Logan testified on a Tuesday morning. Not in a courtroom yet. In a small, beige interview room inside the DA's office. He came in with his mom, Nicole. She looked exhausted, like someone who had been holding a lie together with duct tape and fear for years. Logan wouldn't look at me at first. He kept staring at the floor, hands clenched, knuckles white. The DA spoke gently. No pressure. No tricks. Just facts. Logan, she said, we just need the truth. Nobody here is in trouble for telling the truth. He swallowed hard. Then he said it. My dad didn't lose the watch. Silence. He put it in his safe. I saw him. He told me not to say anything because Uncle Adrian would overreact and Grandma said it would destroy the family. Nicole closed her eyes. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Because hearing it confirmed, out loud, officially, felt different than reading it in a text. Logan kept going. He was mad because Noah talked back earlier. Dad said kids need consequences. He said if Noah got scared enough, he'd learn respect. The DA's pen stopped moving. That's when the tone changed. Because this was no longer about a missing watch. This was about intentional harm to a child. And Logan wasn't finished. He told the police I was in another room. That I didn't see anything. But I did. And when they put the handcuffs on Noah. Dad smiled. That part hit me like a punch. Not because I didn't believe it. But because I did. Nicole finally spoke, her voice breaking. I didn't know he was going to do that, she said. I thought he just wanted to scare him a little. I didn't know they'd take him away. The DA looked straight at her. You understand that scaring a little still qualifies as abuse when a child is involved. Nicole nodded, crying quietly. By the end of that interview, the case changed categories. What had started as a false report became malicious prosecution, abuse of authority, and witness coercion. Grant wasn't just exposed. He was finished. 2 days later, Internal Affairs called Erica. They wanted everything. The emails. The recordings. The consent form my parents signed. The therapist's report. Logan's statement. They suspended Sergeant Mallory without pay. And the department quietly issued a public statement about procedural review involving a minor. That's when the media sniffed blood. Local news picked it up first. Then a legal blog. Then a bigger outlet ran the headline, prominent defense attorney accused of orchestrating false arrest of nephew. Grant's firm went dark. Phones stopped being answered. His website disappeared overnight. And suddenly, my parents wanted to talk. They sent letters. Actual letters. Handwritten. Apologies that never once mentioned Noah's name. Just mistakes, and pressure, and family unity. Lauren read one and tore it in half. I didn't stop her. Then Grant showed up at my hospital. Security called me before he reached my floor. Dr. Hale, there's a man asking for you. He's agitated. I knew it was him. I told them not to let him up. 5 minutes later, he was escorted out. And that was the moment he realized something crucial, he no longer had access. To me. To power. To protection. A week later, charges were filed. False police report. Insurance fraud. Witness intimidation. Abuse of influence. And aiding unlawful detention of a minor. Grant was arrested quietly, no cameras. But word traveled fast. His bar license was suspended pending investigation. Clients vanished. Colleagues distanced themselves. Friends stopped returning calls. The man who once bragged about knowing everyone suddenly had no one left. At home, Noah started sleeping through the night again. The nightmares faded. He stopped flinching when he saw police cars. One night, he asked me a question I'll never forget. "Dad, did I do the right thing by telling the truth?" I pulled him into my chest and said, "You did the bravest thing." And I meant it. Because adults failed him. But he didn't fail himself. The court date was set for the following month. Grant pleaded not guilty. Of course he did. But when the prosecutor laid out the evidence, especially Logan's testimony and the insurance documents, his defense crumbled. Deals were offered. Reduced sentence. No prison. Just probation and fines. All he had to do was admit wrongdoing. He refused. Because Grant couldn't stand the idea of being wrong. The trial lasted 6 days. The interrogation recording played in open court. The room heard Noah's voice crack as he said, "I didn't take it." People cried. Jurors avoided looking at Grant. The verdict came back unanimous. Guilty on all counts. Grant was sentenced to 4 years. Disbarred permanently. No appeals worth mentioning. When the judge read the sentence, Grant finally looked at me. Not angry. Not smug. Just empty. Like a man realizing too late that the system he abused didn't belong to him after all. My parents weren't charged criminally. But the restraining order was granted. Permanent. No contact. No exceptions. They didn't fight it. They couldn't. Because the court had heard everything. Today, life is quieter. Better. Noah laughs again. Sophie talks more. Lauren breathes easier. And me? I learned something I wish I never had to learn. That sometimes, protecting your children means burning bridges you thought were unbreakable. But I'd do it again. Every single time. 2 years have passed since that day. Life didn't magically become perfect overnight, but it became peaceful. And peace, I learned, is worth more than pretending everything is fine. Noah is 12 now. He plays soccer 3 days a week and argues with me about bedtime like a normal kid. He laughs loud again. He sleeps through the night. The fear that once lived behind his eyes is gone. But the strongest moment came one afternoon after school. A police car was parked near the field. Noah froze for half a second. Then he took a breath and kept walking. Later that night, I asked him if it bothered him. He shrugged and said, "I know now that not all adults tell the truth. But I also know my parents will always protect me." That sentence alone was worth every bridge I burned. Sophie is 8 now. And for the first time, she's not the quiet kid in the corner. She talks. She jokes. She sings around the house. Turns out, once the tension was gone, so was the weight on her shoulders. Lauren, she held us together when I was running on anger and adrenaline. She reminded me constantly that justice wasn't about revenge. It was about safety. About boundaries. About teaching our children that love doesn't mean tolerating abuse, especially from family. As for Grant, prison stripped him of the one thing he lived on, control. No courtroom. No status. No influence. Just a man surrounded by people who didn't care who he used to be. His law license is gone for good. His firm dissolved. His name became something colleagues don't mention out loud. I heard he works maintenance now, somewhere far from here. No Rolex. No applause. No power. My parents tried once more to reach out. A letter. Short. No excuses this time. Just regret. I didn't reply. Not because I'm cruel. But because protecting my kids means some doors stay closed forever. And they understand that now. The court settlement paid for Noah's therapy and a college fund. But the real win wasn't financial. It was watching my son learn that telling the truth, even when it's scary, matters. It was showing my children that no one, not even blood, gets a free pass to hurt them. If you're watching this and wondering whether you're wrong for cutting off family, Let me tell you something I learned the hard way: family is not defined by DNA. It's defined by who stands between your child and harm. And if someone chooses to be the harm, you don't owe them access. You owe your children safety. If you stayed until the end, thank you. And if you've ever had to choose between keeping the peace and protecting your kids, you already know which one matters more. Drop a comment and tell me, what line would you never let anyone cross with your child? I read every single one. See you in the next story.